Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, so make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. I greatly appreciate it. My everydayers, you know who you are. This show's not possible without you. You comment, you subscribe, you give me 5 stars on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast. The more stars I get, the better. Let's talk about it. I went through and created my own superlatives, some of them, and I'm going to be dishing out awards to players on Colorado's roster that I think stood out the most this season. So, starting off with offensive MVP, I think a lot of people could win this award, right? I think you could go a lot of different directions. But I got to go Shedeur Sanders, right? I think he's the reason that Travis Hunter was able to make all these plays, right? He's the one that's feeding him. He's an impeccable leader, a tough guy, and I really don't know how good this offense could be without him, right? So he's my offensive MVP. He finished the year, for those of you who don't know, with 41 passing yard, 4,100 passing yards, 74% completion percentage, 37 touchdowns. He was sacked 42 times. Despite that, he stuck in there, was a dog every single day. Defensive MVP, I'm going to Travis Hunter. And I think Travis made a huge impact in a lot of different ways. He won them a game against Baylor. He had 4 interceptions, 11 pass deflections, which was a team high. He's the best corner in the game. He's the best defensive player in college football. And obviously, that award has to go to him. I think people get caught up in sort of what he does on offense because the ball's in his hands. But even when Travis isn't deflecting passes or intercepting passes, he's forcing quarterbacks to throw it and test other corners, or he's forcing quarterbacks to scramble into Colorado's pass rush because quarterbacks have to be aware of where he is. And you don't want to just keep testing Travis Hunter because it doesn't always end well. So he's my defensive MVP. My breakout star on offense was LeJohntay Wester. I think he was a guy who stepped into a similar role that Jimmy Horn Jr. had last year. Obviously, Jimmy was injured this season, but there was a lot of games where LeJohntay sort of had the play that broke Colorado out of the funk. It was Texas Tech. It was, I think, Cincinnati. He had a big play where it was like, okay, because of him, they were able to break out of the funk. Kansas State, same thing, 2 touchdowns. Like LeJohntay Wester felt like the most reliable receiver for Shedeur Sanders outside of Travis Hunter. And so I was really pleased to see that his skill set translated. Him and Shedeur had a very, very good connection, and I think he deserves all the credit. And I feel like he boosted his NFL draft potential as well. My breakout star on defense, and you could disagree with this one, but I think he got a lot more shine this year. I think he deserves a lot more credit this year. It's Cameron Simmons-Craig. Led the team in tackles with 89. He had 2 sacks, a pick, a forced fumble, which he returned for a touchdown. He was the heart and soul of the defense. It felt like when you needed a big play, it felt like it was Cameron Simmons-Craig who was going to give it to you. So I really liked what I saw from him. And I think similar to Wester, I think he played his way up draft boards. Freshman of the year, I'm going Jordan Seaton. He had a decent, really solid first year as a left tackle in the Power 4 conference, right? I think a lot of times when you're a freshman, you get thrown into the fire as an offensive lineman. It either goes really well or really bad. And for Jordan Seaton, it went pretty well, right? He had a 67.1 grade overall, 77.6 pass blocking grade. Run blocking grade can improve, but I think that has to go with all of what Colorado needs to do. They need to improve as a unit, whether it's the running backs, offense linemen. So really liked what I saw from Jordan Seaton. I think he's going to serve as a cornerstone of that offensive line for years to come. And I think that they're going to try to build around him to sort of protect who's ever back behind center. Brightest future. I went with Colton Hood. So I think part of this reason was I wanted to go with a guy who I think we saw a little bit, but we didn't see a lot of. But Colton Hood is a big play waiting to happen, right? He's filled in a couple times. He had 2 interceptions, 105 yards and interception returns. Should have a touchdown, but I think he's running so fast he tripped himself up. With Travis Hunter gone, and who knows the status of what the rest of the secondary will look like, I think Colton Hood has a legitimate chance to establish himself as one of the better corners in the Big 12 next year, if he earns that role where he's playing or starting the majority of the game. Biggest portal loss for the Buffs after this season is Nikhai Hill-Green. I just feel like they're losing a lot of leadership. They're losing one of the hardest hitters in college football. He went to Bama, if you guys didn't know. I think he helped transcend that run defense. And I really, obviously, Colorado was always expecting him to leave, but had they known or had people known that there was a possibility, like he had eligibility, but the thought was he was going to leave for the NFL. Had people known that there was a possibility he'd return to college, I think it would have been really nice to see what he could do next year on that Colorado defense. And then special teams player of the year, Alejandro Mata. I doubted him at the beginning of the year. He had some missed kicks that I thought were pretty crucial, but he ended up making all of his extra points and 80% of his field goals. So I think he was reliable when Colorado needed him. There you could go back and circle a few moments, but reliable when Colorado needed him. I think there's a reason Coach Prime has so much trust in him. So really big shout out to him. And then the most underrated portal get for Colorado had to be BJ Green. There was, which this isn't an indictment on anyone. The film spoke for itself, but when BJ Green came to Colorado, there was like this sort of thought and narrative that he lacked hustle, he lacked effort. Who knew if he was going to crack the rotation kind of thing. They had Samuel Kunalola, they had Deion Hayes, they had other guys who I think some people were expecting to start over BJ Green, and he comes in, leads the team in sacks as an all Big 12 guy, 2 forced fumbles, and I don't think the defense would have been as prolific without him. So Colorado, really, really strong season. You can comment below who you think should have won awards, who you think I overlooked, or maybe who you think or who you disagree with. But either way, I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. Please like, subscribe, follow, give me 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast. I hope to see you guys tomorrow. We have some really cool interviews coming up. You won't want to miss them.